Hey guys, welcome to NIJ Changemakers. This is Priyanka Deo. Today we have a really exciting show. She has done some amazing work and will continue to do some amazing work. We have Megha Bhatia, who is the founder of Our Voix. Megha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor for me to be here.
No, it's an honor for us to interview you. So I'm really excited to talk to you because your work is so meaningful, and I'm just going to let you talk about it. So now tell me how, first of all, we practiced it a couple of times. It's Our Voix.
It's Our Voix. It's correct. It's Our Voix.
I pronounced it correctly? Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, so can you tell me how the name came about and what Our Voix is all about?
Okay, so the name came about very randomly. I was just sitting in my room and I was like, I need to find a name. So I chose Our Voice, and then I was not able to get the domain name. I was like, shit, what should I do?
Okay.
So I tried French word, I tried Spanish word, and then I was like, in the French word, I got it, the domain name. So I was like, okay, let's go forward with it. So there were people who were telling me that people in India...
very random.
Yeah.
But domain names matter. So
yeah. They matters a lot. So there were people who used to tell me that in India, people are not going to understand this, okay? So I was like, I'll make them understand. So what we do now is when we are going to colleges, we say, voix, goa, voix, then we rhyme it. When we go to schools, we are like, you have your voix, and then we rhyme it.
This is how you taught me. I remember you were having a WhatsApp conversation and you were literally spelling it out like V-W-A-H, like Bua, I think you wrote, which was good. So, okay, so that's how you came up with the name. And now more importantly, tell me what Our Voix is about, because it's super important.
Yes, it is. I think it is the need of the hour what our organization is doing. Our Voix is a platform where we are working on prevention of child sexual abuse. So we are building a platform where children can actually raise their voice and they are not blamed or ashamed for raising their voice. And we are working with government schools, we are working with teachers, principals, and ensuring that there is preventive measures at school and our children are safe. Like if Priyanka, you look at the statistics, in our country, almost every second child is getting sexually abused. So even if we guys are sitting in this...
Every second child, is that the stat?
Yes, by Ministry of Women and Child Development, it is a study in 2007. So if we are sitting in this room, we might have faced some kind of an abuse, maybe not with touch, maybe without touch, a kind of a sexual harassment. So when you look at statistics, it's worst, and it's high time we need to do something for our children. Like you must have heard about Me Too campaign, right? There's this Men Too campaign that is starting. And I always share this, that the time is not far away when a Children Too campaign will start. So before it starts, we need to start working on prevention. And
I'm still stuck on that stat in my head. It's an alarming stat.
It's an alarming.
That was in 2007. So what is the more recent stats, since our population has grown since then?
It has grown, and the worst part is when you look at 2016 study of National Crime Record Bureau, the crime is increasing day by day. But this is not the worst part. The worst part is these crimes are being done by known people. The stats is 94.8% cases being done by a known person. So if I say that you can trust your mother, or you can trust your father or your teacher, that's not the case right now.
Yeah.
So we need to empower children so that they can themselves resist sexual abuse.
Now, you go according to psychologist and psychiatric standards when you're conducting your workshop.
Yes.
So now you have your roots in London, right? You studied over there, and you worked for organizations like Amnesty International and
Save the Children.
Yep, Save the Children. Now, in the USA and in London, which is where you are also based, it is a very, I wouldn't even say, I'm not going to say a very common thing, but it's a more widely accepted norm that you have to go according to these standards. Whereas in India, especially in tier 2, tier 3, and even I will go as far to say urban areas, because we're just starting to get that sort of awareness now, we don't go according to those standards.
Yes.
So how do you deal with that, and how are your workshops conducted?
I think it's very important that we should stick to psychological standards, because I have been to schools and I've heard that, oh, somebody conducted a workshop there and the child has got a negative effect of that workshop. The child has stopped talking to his or her dad, even though the dad has not done anything to the child. So it's very important that any workshop that is being conducted at school, they should have a psychological standard. And the way we conduct it, we have a psychologist on board. She's Miss Anandita Anand. She works at Gangaram Hospital. And when we talk about workshop, it's very important that we don't have to scare our children. So in India, what is the practice that is going on? There are like anybody who wants to teach children about safe and unsafe tasks, they just take a video from YouTube or read about it and they start conducting these workshops. They are not empowered enough. They don't have enough capacity to understand if a child shares the same with them, what are they going to do? How are they going to react? They have no idea. They have a zeal to do something, but they don't know how to handle the repercussions. So in our workshops, we are teaching children through a very unique concept of powers. So now, no more danger talks. Like we have our own mascots, we call them Super Buddy. And through Super Buddy, like we teach them about you have power over your body, you have power to say no, power to judge the touch. So I think these concepts need to be established in our country and at every school in India. That's the need of the hour.
And so what struck me is empowerment of children, because we speak so much about empowerment of women, empowerment of young people, empowerment of young citizens, but children are actually our youngest citizens and they are the future of our country. In the next, 5 years, we are going to have another set of elections. We just had a set of elections where we had a huge number of youth voting for the first time. So there's a ton of young people in our country, I give this stat all the time, but it's so true that 65% of our country is under the age of 35. And that includes this population of children, yes, which I feel that perhaps, I don't know, maybe you can better speak about it. Why is it so important to empower our children?
It is important because I believe children are not the future. They are the present of our country.
That's very well put.
Yeah, and if we don't do it now, because sexual abuse is a thing which is not going to stay with the child for 1 year or 2 years, Priyanka. It's going to stay with the child throughout their life. Like I have friends who are married and they cannot get into sexual relationships with their own husbands because they were abused. So it's like an adulthood trauma जो उनके साथ रहेगा. So it's high time we work on our children now. Otherwise, we'll be having adults who will not be capable enough to actually handle their own emotions.
Yeah, and that it doesn't just lead to emotions with your husband or your partner. It also leads to personality differences. It leads to impacting your work, other aspects of your life as well, in a negative way, right? So they can't contribute to their fullest potential because of this trauma that's happening. So in terms of policy, what do you see going forward in terms of sexual assault for children?
I think there's one change which is the need of the hour. Like we have sexual harassment committees at offices level. It is high time that we have child abuse monitoring committee at school level also, so that children have a platform where they can raise their voice, or there are steps being taken at the school level. But this is not the law in our country. These are just guidelines by DCPCR or National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. It's high time that we include this and make it a mandatory provision rather than just a guideline. So if we have these guidelines, there are schools which have it, but they don't have student representative in it. So this is the policy change which is the need of the hour, so that there are preventive measures. What's happening in our country is a case comes up, we go and candle march and we make sure that the law is changed. It's a protection step that we are taking. We're not working on prevention. So it's high time we work on prevention.
That's important, yeah. Do you feel that the situation has improved in any way in terms of government awareness?
It has, but it's very minimum. A lot needs to be done. Like when I work at the grassroots level, we have recently conducted a survey at 15 MCD schools. They don't even have a single counselor there. They don't have child abuse monitoring committee. The teachers are not provided with training related to POC.
Whereas, as you probably know, in London or in the USA, it's required that one is there. Yeah.
It is a mandate. It's not like an optional. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity.
It's a necessity.
Which Indians like no.
It's mandatory, I guess you could say. Yeah.
We need to realize this.
Yeah. So now I'm sure that do you conduct the workshops? Do you have a staff that's trained to conduct the workshops in a specific way? What's the training like for your staff?
Yeah. So right now we have volunteers and interns and we train them. They have to go through a 2-day training. So we teach them about the legal perspectives like POCSO Act, what is the legal perspective, and then we have a psychologist on board. So we teach them about the psychological perspective. Once they are trained after the 2-day workshop, then they are allowed to conduct these workshops in different schools, because I can't go to every school.
And do it yourself, right?
Myself. Initially I was doing that, but eventually I realized I need to train more and more people.
And how many children how many workshops have been conducted? How many schools do you work with, and where are you now across the country?
Okay, so we have reached out to more than 14,500 children in our 1-year journey.
Excellent.
40 plus MCD schools. We have also spread our knowledge base and workshops to Hyderabad, Odisha, different schools in Hyderabad and Odisha. And yeah, so we have volunteer base in different countries also, but in different countries we're not conducting workshops, we are building our content base.
Okay. Okay. Well, congratulations. I mean, that's a huge number and it's super important work. So even touching one child and empowering one child is important.
It's
so
important.
I applaud you and I respect you so much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Now, can you tell me a little bit about, can you share perhaps, maybe without, I know these are very sensitive stories, but can you maybe share for the audience, I'm sure they would like to hear, maybe a success story of after the workshop the child felt empowered, or a child had gone through trauma and had felt empowered after the workshop, and what he or she did. Would you be able to share something like that?
Yeah, I won't name the child, but I can share the success stories. There were many cases which were reported by our organization. I always share this also. There was this 9-year-old girl case which we reported, and she was getting raped by her own brother from last 1 year. And since we were there, she shared it with us and we were able to report it. If we would have not been there, the girl would have never shared it with anybody. So that's why it's very important that we teach them through the right source rather than they learning it through the wrong source.
And like I said, it's not just in a sexual way that it affects you. It could lead to bullying. It could lead to a host of other problems that go unchecked, I think. Yes. Largely in the Indian system. Now I feel there's a little bit of awareness, at least in urban centers. But as you said, in tier 2, tier 3, it's a lot of work needs to be done.
Yes, absolutely.
But okay, so now let's transition into, I believe you do a little bit of song and dance in your workshops. Yes. So I'm going to sing along with you. But can you bring your team and then we can have some fun?
Yeah, that's okay? Sure.
Awesome.
I'll bring them.
Okay, so we are here with the Our Voix team. Hi guys, how are you? Hi. And now one of the important things that you do in your workshops is actually singing, right? So why is it so important?
As it is said that when words fail, music speaks. So it is very important. Music helps us to connect with the children and create an environment where they can freely dance and share things with us.
Okay, so we're going to do that right now. We're going to sing a song, all of us. So here we go.
एक पल तो बने जीने दो सारी उम्र हम मर मर के जी लिए एक पल तो बने जीने दो ना 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 ना
That's a wrap for NIJ Changemakers. We'll see you next time. Till then, this is Priyanka signing off.